Ryan here with LongRangeOnly.com. In this video we're going to talk about the new Revic RS25i. This is just going to be an overview, not a review. We've only had it for a couple weeks, 2-3 weeks. I don't remember the exact amount of time. And then we will do a review after this hunting season. When it comes to scopes, there are tons of options now. We are living in a great time for everything long range hunting. You know, when I started, we didn't have near the options for any of this stuff. Now we have tons of options. So you really got to start looking at what sets one component apart from the other. A lot of them put their eggs in one basket. They're trying to sell one feature or whatever. Some of them don't really offer anything over others. You know, they're just putting something out there to, sell something, to have some competition. But like I said, when you've got so many options, there has to be something that distinguishes one from the other. I think with this Revic scope, it's not any one thing, it's all of the things. And the goal of this is to make us be able to get a shot at an animal as quickly as possible. Sometimes that's giving up a little precision. You know, if you can get it precise enough to make the shot at whatever distance you're making that shot, sometimes time is of the essence. Often time is of the essence. It's better to be off by a quarter minute than it is to not get the shot at all. I bring that up because when you start looking at the feature sets of these rifle scopes, realistically that's what's going to come down to some of the time. How is it helping us be better in the field? Not necessarily be more precise on target or, have the best of everything for a precision rifle scope for shooting targets. So let's just go ahead and walk through the general overview of this scope. It's got an ambidextrous throw lever, which we'll talk about a little bit in depth here in a second. What I would call a fast focus eyepiece. It's got the end piece here. This is pretty standard. I think just off the top of my head, Night Force is the only one that does this diopter adjustment differently. I love Night Force scopes. I don't love the way you adjust this. This is smooth and easy to adjust, but not too easy so that it moves after you get it adjusted for your eye. It has a push button illuminated reticle, which basically just illuminates the center, which is really all you need. And it's got several, you click through the different brightness levels. It's quick and it's easy to use. Very smooth side parallax adjust. The turret feel is very audible, tactile feeling, and I'll talk about that here in a minute. And it's got a capped windage. Under the windage cap, you've got a turret that is basically just like the top. If you want to remove the cap and run it without the cap, it's perfectly fine. If you want to dial for windage, it's not going to disappoint. It has everything you would want in an exposed windage turret rifle scope. It is a 30 millimeter main tube. It weighs 34 ounces. And then it's got the new Gunworks reticle, which I'll post up here, and we'll talk about it generally. Like I said, this is just an overview. So lengthwise, it's 14¼ inches long, 30 millimeter main tube, and it weighs right at 34 ounces. Weight-wise, it's going to be right in line with many other options in this quality and price range. The NXS, some of the Collis, I don't know all of them off the top of my head, but anywhere from that 32 to 36 ounce range is very, very common. Obviously, you got other scopes like some of the Leupold options. The NX8 from Night Force is a little bit lighter. Some of the March scopes are a little bit lighter. But weight's always a trade-off. You typically get better components inside the scope, as well as possibly main tubes that are stiffer, stronger, with a little bit extra weight. Obviously, if you're going to get hung up on weight, that's a consideration. But like I said, it's right in line with other options. Illuminated reticle, I don't use them. I don't think I've ever used one on a hunt, but I suppose if I were ever to need one, it would be nice to have. It does work. The different brightnesses are quick to to flip through with the push of the button, and it's also quick to turn the reticle on and off with just pushing the side button. Parallax is smooth, and it does exactly what it's supposed to. It's quick and easy to adjust the parallax out of it. Diopter adjustment, like I already said, is nice and smooth. It's stiff enough that it's not going to move accidentally, and it's super easy to get it set up for your eye. Even if you were to swap shooters on the fly, they could get this adjusted pretty quickly. Let's talk about the throw lever here. This is one of the smoothest zoom throws I've ever felt. It's again not too easy so that it's going to accidentally move, even though if it does, it's not a big deal. Obviously, you can still see everything's fine as far as being able to get on target and get your shot off. The throw lever has a little screw here on the top of it that you can remove, and then you take it to one of the sides, the stops, and then you can move the throw lever. It's got detents that you can feel, and then you can put the screw back in it. So you can basically put that in several different locations, and it's actually the first I've seen anything like this, and I think it's the absolute best implementation of an adjustable or movable throw lever. So definitely a good job by the Revic team on that. Again, capped windage. The turret is on par with any turret out there. I know that a lot of people are pretty picky about how they like their turrets to feel, so I really can't comment on that. I would say of all the scopes that I've used, it feels most like the Athlon scopes, which are very good turrets. They're very tactile, audible, and definitely you're not going to mistake how many clicks that you clicked while you got your head in the gun. You can just go ahead and click it and you're going to know if you're just counting clicks. The elevation turret has quite a few features. Not all of them new, but it's a toolless zero. There are other scopes out there that have this feature, but you just unscrew the cap and you take the turret off. We're going to take it off here real quick, and then reset the zero. The zero stop is what I would consider to be the new standard, and it's got some screws around here on this wheel, and you just set it against the two stops hit each other, the two detents hit each other to actually stop at zero or wherever you want it. Some guys like it a little bit below, which that doesn't make sense to me. You might as well just put it at the zero. If you need to dial a minute under the zero for a closer shot, just hold down a little bit, but whatever. Some guys like it. You can set that wherever you want. One of the cool features, or probably the coolest feature of the turret, is it's got the piece that you would use to just give you a little bit more tactile feel on the turret, and then it's got this sleeve that's got a little detent on it, so it only goes where that detent is. This sleeve can be replaced with a BDC, so it's a little bit easier than getting a whole new turret. I don't know what the prices are going to be of them right now, but it's probably going to be a little bit cheaper, and you can have several of them. You just take the turret apart like you just watched and do your BDC. So if you're a guy that shoots in several different states, several different altitudes, several different temperatures across the hunting season, you can get several turrets, keep them with you, swap them out, whatever you want to do. So the guys that like BDCs, that's a great option. I personally don't understand them. The rangefinders that we have nowadays spit out a MOA so quick, it really makes a BDC irrelevant in my opinion. So I just don't get them, but for those that like them, this is probably one of the best examples of a turret for them. And so we'll talk about it real quick. We're not going to dive into it because that's not what this is about. This is not a BDC versus MOA versus MIL, but the one advantage to a BDC reticle would be is if you had your shot all dialed in and the animal moved on you and then paused for a second, let's say it moved 30 yards, you can pretty much judge 30 yards if you already had a range on the animal. 30 yards farther, 30 yards closer, whichever it is, and you can just dial this to the different yardage without actually rearranging. And you'll probably be within one click, which most guys in field conditions aren't going to be able to outshoot that. So that would be one advantage. And realistically, it doesn't hurt to have it there because you still have the MOA ring on the bottom. The problem is I hunt across the U.S. in several different situations. Like I hunt here in Kansas at 1,000 foot. I'll be hunting in Cody this year around 5,000 foot of elevation. Broadus, Montana around 4,000 foot. And then I'll be hunting in Utah around 10,000 foot. You know, in some of those situations, 4,000 to 5,000 foot's not a huge deal. 1,000 to 5,000, you're talking up to a couple clicks. Which to me matters, especially when you get out there 700-800 yards. You're talking about 4 to 5 inches difference, and then you go up to 10,000 foot, and from 1,000 foot to 10,000 foot it gets to be pretty big. And then you got the temperature swings. A lot of these hunts, you might be hunting in a spot where there are huge elevation changes, as well as it being, you know, in the 20s in the middle of the day and up in the 60s. 20s in the morning and 60s in the middle of the day. And that makes big changes, which I personally would rather be more precise. Again, it doesn't hurt because you still have the MOA, but if you go with the BDC, you always have that extra option just to make that quick change if the animal does move and you've got the right BDC attached. This is going to make it easier, in my opinion, to get several different BDC rings. Last but not least is the reticle. I think personally, again, this is an overview, not a review. I haven't had a lot of time to compare to other optics and actually use it to have a good opinion of how I feel about it. But I think this is one of, if not the best hunting reticle out there. It has all the things you need and none of the stuff that you don't need. It's got one MOA marks along the horizontal plane, and then it's got a couple down. It doesn't have a bunch of junk that you don't need above the center. And it's just going to be quick and easy, especially for guys that want to do hold-offs. It's also first focal plane, which I think is far superior to second focal plane. The problem with some of those first focal planes is they put a lot of junk in there, and it makes it more difficult than it needs to actually use. The other part of this is at 5 power, the way the reticle is designed, the bars at the edge aren't overwhelming at 25 power, but they're perfect at 5 power. And then the vertical post sticks up, and basically just a couple minutes over that would be where the center of the reticle is, or where your impacts would be expected to hit, and it draws your eyes right into it. So I think it's one of the best first focal plane reticles that covers all the bases from 5 power up to 25 power. I'm not going to have a lot of opinion probably change at the end when I'm doing the review on the low power, because I don't ever remember purposely taking a shot at an animal off of max power of whatever the scope was that I was shooting. I've just not been in a situation where I need it. If you were coyote hunting or something like that, maybe the situations would be different. I try to avoid hunting dark timber. I don't enjoy that style. I like to glass and then spot and stock and get the animals in a location where I want to take the shot. So those just aren't situations I get myself into. So like I said, I'm probably not going to have a lot of opinion change at the end of this. But like I said, initial impressions are it's great at covering all the bases as far as the reticle is concerned. Glass is, near as I can tell right now, on par with other scopes in this price range. Glass to me is, there's obviously some parts of it that are scientific, but some of it is personal preference. And then you got things like the how well it does in sunlight or glare or whatever, and then the low light performance. Now those can be all looked at with optics charts, and I haven't had a chance to do that, but that's definitely something I'll try to cover more in the review. Let's go ahead and wrap this up. In this price range, I think this is going to be a scope that every long-range hunter should look at if they're shopping for a new scope. The scope itself is not too heavy. It's right in line with most of the other options in this price range, and for the intended purposes, it's going to be right in line with what we need. Obviously, there are lighter scopes, but this is not too heavy. Size, again, it's right in line with other options. It's not too long, it's not too short. It's got plenty of mating surface here, or mounting surface on the scope tube. It is a 30mm tube. The diopter adjustment is nice. The magnification adjustment ring is nice. The turrets are very nice. The turret itself, with the option of getting the several different BDC rings, is very nice, and I think one of the better features of the scope for people that are interested in having a BDC. And like I said, it doesn't hurt anything to have it. It's just extra, because you're still going to have the MOA ring or the mill ring on the bottom. Parallax adjust is great. The illumination is on par with other reticles out there, and the windage turret is on par with other scopes out there. And then the reticle is, in my opinion, one of the best hunting reticles that we have. First focal plane, very simple, does everything we need, nothing we don't need. So if I had to tell you two things that stuck out to me right away, it's going to be the reticle and this turret with the option to change out the different BDC rings. So I'll have a link to a thread on the forum in the description below. You can head on over there. You can ask me any questions. If I don't know them, and there's a good chance I won't know some of the particulars yet, you can ask me there, and I'll try to get those answered for you as quickly as possible. In the thread on long range only, I'll have some links to the scope, so you can go check out that on Revic's website. If you're not a member on longrangeonly.com, it's quick, it's free, it's easy to sign up. We would love to have you. There's a lot of great information, not only from the editors, but the members provide lots of information, and there's a great group of guys there, so we would love to have you. Please like the video below, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and turn on notifications so you'll be notified of future videos. We appreciate you taking the time to watch. Have a great day.